Take a step inside. This is of course a prototype pre-production vehicle, and show you a little bit more of the system down here. We've got the M4 competition logo. If we make sure the car is properly awake just for the second, here in the system, which is the now 10.25 inch screen for the centre and the 12.3 inch for the driver's dashboard, if we go into car here and go into the M menu, M drift control. If you go into M drift control, the car will give you statistics and records and data of your drift. So if you pull that perfect 300-meter drift somewhere, obviously on a private closed location, you can have all the data here to actually show it. In fact, if you're back in the main menu and you turn off traction control, as soon as you've held that down and it brings up this menu, it says start M drift control. It will also, in the four-wheel drive, when that arrives, here have the option for start MX drive, where you can then put it into four-wheel drive sport, or into two-wheel drive mode should you prefer. But there are lots of other settings. You've got the M mode here, like on the M5 competition and the M8. If we press that, it takes us into the sport setting, which changes the dashboard appearance, and if you hold it, it goes all the way into the track setting, which effectively turns off the infotainment when you activate it, and turns off that central screen, and means you are entirely focused in terms of having your settings to the left, to the right, and your tyre pressures and temperatures over to the left. Obviously, ignore graphics. We are, like I said, in a pre-production, and this is where if you went into M1, for example, you can see the different setup. Now, talking of setup, I do want to get this central screen back, so we will go back into the normal mode, because if you press setup here, it brings up this display where you will notice at the bottom we have the new M traction setting. Now again, with traction off, that's when you can change this, but you can literally change on a sliding scale your traction settings and how much slip angle you would like the car to allow you to have. This gives you that variable element to configure exactly where you're comfortable, or for the environment, or for the settings and where you're driving, which is really very, very cool. Now above that, you've got the brake, the integrated brake assist, where it changes the feel that you have through the brake pedal, the amount of pressure that it requires to get full braking. It doesn't change the amount of braking that you have, of course, for safety reasons. And then you have steering, chassis and engine, the other controls. Now, BMW M had considered adding these buttons in here, but basically to do all of this and all of the different settings would not have fit in the amount of space available. If we go back into car though, and go back into the M menu, here you can configure your M1 and M2 and get a quick glance at quite how much there is that you can change. The engine, the transmission through the drive logic settings, which change the speed of the shift, the chassis, steering, brake, traction, M traction, start stop, sound control. This is exactly what I love, the ability to personalize the driving experience and to have effectively 3 different settings available to you: standard, M1 and M2, and effectively the press of a button, along with all of